Dr. Elena Reyes stared at her monitor until her eyes burned, the strange patterns of the signal dancing across her vision, even when she blinked. 3 days without proper sleep had left her jittery, sustained only by synthetic caffeine and the gnawing certainty that she was on the verge of something monumental. Running pattern match sequence 14. She mumbled, fingers flying across the holographic interface. The laboratory around her sat empty at this late hour, her colleagues having long since departed for their quarters in the Lunar Research Station. The signal had first appeared during humanity's inaugural faster-than-light jump test, a seemingly impossible coincidence that Elena couldn't dismiss. The Hermes probe had barely crossed the light barrier when every detection grid across Earth and her colonies simultaneously registered the transmission, originating from somewhere near the galactic core, 30,000 light-years away. Her system chimed, pulling her from her thoughts. The latest algorithm had found something. A recurring sequence within the seemingly random data bursts. Computer, isolate sequence, and compare to known linguistic structures. The results appeared almost instantly. Partial matches to mathematical constants, interwoven with protein encoding sequences. Not random at all, but a complex cipher using the building blocks of life itself as its key. "My God," Elena whispered, her exhaustion momentarily forgotten. "It's not just a message. It's meant for us specifically." She worked feverishly through the night, each breakthrough leading to another layer of encryption that yielded only when she applied principles of human genetic sequencing. By dawn, she had enough to take to Director Harlow. "You're telling me this signal is addressed to humanity?" Director Samantha Harlow's skepticism was evident as she studied the data displays in the conference room. Outside the panoramic windows, Earth hung like a blue jewel against the stark lunar landscape. Elena nodded, dark circles under her eyes contrasting with the intensity of her gaze. "Not just addressed to us. It's only decipherable using human DNA as a cipher key. The Elderkin engineered their message to be understood exclusively by us." Admiral James Chen, representing Earth's United Defense Forces, leaned forward. "And you're certain about the content? This claimed that we're, what did you call it?" "The Firstborn," Elena replied. "According to what I've translated, the Elderkin were the first advanced species in our galaxy. They explored for thousands of years before discovering they were alone. Instead of continuing their solitary existence, they seeded several worlds with life designed to eventually evolve into intelligent species, with humans designated as their primary inheritors, their firstborn. If these Elderkin were so advanced, where are they now?" Harlow asked. Elena's expression darkened. "Extinct. The message indicates they were systematically hunted down by something called the Concordat, a coalition of species that evolved naturally and viewed the Elderkin's engineered children as abominations." Chen's tactical mind immediately grasped the implications, and our FTL test just announced our development to the entire galaxy. If this Concordat still exists, then we've just painted a target on our entire species. Elena finished. The room fell silent as the enormity of the situation sank in. Their celebration of humanity's greatest technological achievement had inadvertently triggered a beacon that had lain dormant for millions of years. Director Harlow broke the silence. "We need to convene the Security Council immediately. If there's even a chance you're right, Dr. Rice, we need to prepare." As if in response to her words, the station's proximity alarms began blaring. The AI's calm voice contrasted sharply with the urgency of its message. "Unknown objects detected entering the Sol system. Current count, 17. Configuration matches no known human vessel designs. Estimated arrival to Earth orbit, 6 hours." Chen was already moving toward the door. "Looks like first contact is coming whether we're ready or not." Elena clutched the data tablet containing the partially translated Phantom Oath. Somewhere within its ancient code lay humanity's history, purpose, and perhaps the key to their survival. The Concordat vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere with impossible grace, its iridescent hull dispersing clouds as it lowered toward the United Nations Plaza in Geneva. Admiral Chen watched from a hastily assembled security perimeter, his expression betraying none of the anxiety churning in his stomach. "Atmospheric analysis confirms the ship is actively filtering our air," murmured Colonel Diaz, his second-in-command. "Their environmental systems are processing oxygen, nitrogen, and trace gases before they cycle it into their internal chambers." Chen nodded slightly. "They're being cautious. Good. That means they consider us a potential threat, not just vermin to be exterminated." The massive ship, shaped like an elongated hexagon with crystalline protrusions, hovered 50 meters above the designated landing zone. A column of shimmering energy materialized beneath it, connecting to the ground. "Defense positions hold," Chen ordered into his neural comm. "No aggressive moves, but maintain targeting solutions." The assembled honor guard, comprised of soldiers from every nation on Earth, remained rigidly at attention, their ceremonial weapons concealing cutting-edge defensive capabilities. Dr. Rice stood nearby with the diplomatic team, her dark hair pulled back tightly, eyes fixed on the energy column as it solidified. "They're using quantum entanglement for matter transmission," she whispered to Chen. Technology the Elderkin described in the Phantom Oath. 3 figures materialized within the column, descending slowly until their feet touched Earth soil. The energy dissipated, leaving the aliens standing before humanity's representatives. The central figure stepped forward, the Vecthar ambassador. Nearly 2 meters tall, his humanoid form was disconcertingly familiar yet unmistakably alien. Translucent skin revealed complex neural pathways that pulsed with blue-green light, while 3 pairs of articulated limbs moved with fluid precision. His eyes, 4 of them, arranged in a diamond pattern, scanned the assembled humans with analytical coldness. "We speak for the Concordat of Sovereign Systems," the alien announced, his voice resonating without apparent technology, perfectly intelligible despite the impossibility of this linguistic feat. "We come to address the violation of Galactic Charter, Section 12, Subsection 4, the unauthorized activation of Elderkin technology by a non-registered species." The UN Secretary-General stepped forward, maintaining the composed dignity her position demanded. "We welcome you to Earth, and thank you for initiating peaceful contact. I am Secretary-General Amara Okafor, elected representative of United Earth. We were unaware of any galactic charter until very recently." The Vecthar's neural pathways flashed rapidly. "Ignorance of galactic law does not constitute exemption. Your species has triggered dormant Elderkin beacons across 17 sectors, claiming inheritance of technologies and territories restricted under the isolation protocols established after the Elderkin purification." Dr. Rice flinched at the clinical term for what had clearly been genocide, but maintained her composure. The data tablet containing her translations of the Phantom Oath felt heavy in her hands. The Vecthar continued, "The Concordat offers 2 paths. Renounce all claims to Elderkin legacy and accept probationary status within the Concordat, or face immediate quarantine and potential sanction." Admiral Chen stepped forward. "With respect, Ambassador, our diplomatic protocols require thorough deliberation before such significant decisions. We request a standard consultation period of 3 months to properly consider your generous offer." The alien's eyes focused intently on Chen, neural pathways pulsing faster. "Your species has not established standard diplomatic protocols with the Concordat. We determine timeframes. Then consider this an opportunity to establish such protocols." Chen replied smoothly. 3 months would demonstrate the Concordat's commitment to interspecies respect and cooperation. Values I'm sure are fundamental to your alliance. A long silence followed as the Vecthar communicated silently with his companions. Finally, he responded, "We grant 1 orbital period of your world, what you call 3 months. A monitoring delegation will remain in your system. Any attempt to activate further Elderkin technology will result in immediate termination of negotiations." As the aliens returned to their vessel, Chen turned to Dr. Rice, speaking under his breath. "We just bought ourselves some time. Now we need to find whatever the Elderkin left us before the Concordat realizes what we're doing. Reyes clutched her tablet tighter. The Antarctic signal is strongest. We need to move quickly. Chen nodded. I've already dispatched Special Forces teams to the coordinates. Pack for cold weather, Doctor. We leave in 3 hours. Above them, the Concordat ship rejoined its fleet in high orbit, their weapons systems powered but dormant. For now, the Antarctic winds screamed across the ice shelf, driving sheets of snow horizontally through the air as Dr. Reyes huddled deeper into her thermal suit. The research camp, hastily established 5 kilometers from the energy signature, consisted of a dozen prefabricated structures anchored deep into the ice, connected by enclosed walkways that shuddered with each gust. Core samples confirm the anomaly begins approximately 200 meters below us, reported Dr. Captry, the geophysicist, his dark eyes intense as he manipulated the holographic display. Whatever's down there, it's not natural. The structure maintains a constant temperature of exactly 15 degrees Celsius regardless of the surrounding ice. Admiral Chen studied the readouts, his breath fogging in the frigid air despite the heaters working at maximum capacity. How long until we breach the outer chamber? The plasma drill is making steady progress, Chatry replied. Another 4 hours, assuming we don't hit unexpected density variations. Alina glanced upward reflexively, though the ceiling blocked her view of the sky. And our uninvited guests. Chen's expression darkened. Concordat observation drones maintain their patrol pattern at 30,000 meters. They're staying just within the limits of the monitoring agreement. They know we're here, Alina said. They're just waiting to see what we find. Chen nodded grimly, which is why we need to work fast. Lieutenant Walker, status report on perimeter defenses. A young officer with frost-rimmed eyebrows stepped forward. Motion sensors deployed. Sir, the meteorological conditions are playing havoc with our more advanced systems, but that works both ways. The Concordat sensors will be equally compromised if they try to deploy ground forces. A sudden vibration shook the structure, sending instruments rattling against metal tables. For a moment, everyone froze. That wasn't weather, Chatry said, checking his instruments. Chen was already moving. The drills broken through. The descent into the abyss took 23 minutes via the hastily constructed elevator platform. Alina watched the ice walls give way to something else entirely, smooth, opalescent material that seemed to absorb the expedition's lights rather than reflect them. When they finally reached the bottom, they stood in reverential silence. The chamber extended far beyond their lights, its architecture defying human design principles. Arches flowed into spirals that shouldn't have been structurally sound yet had withstood millions of years encased in ice. The air was perfectly still, neither warm nor cold, with a faint scent like ozone after lightning. Elderkin construction, just as the Phantom Oath described, Alina whispered, her voice carrying in the perfect acoustics of the chamber. The team advanced cautiously, their footsteps making no sound on the strange floor. At the center of the vast space stood a crystalline structure resembling a tree made of light, its branches extending upward into darkness, its roots disappearing into the floor. The Inheritance Codex, Alina breathed, recognition flooding her mind though she had never seen it before. The repository of Elderkin knowledge meant for humanity. As she approached, the structure pulsed with sudden brilliance. Tendrils of light extended toward her, causing the security team to raise their weapons. Hold fire, Chen ordered sharply. The light touched Alina's forehead, and she gasped as information began flooding her consciousness. Star charts, mathematical theorems, biological sequences, too fast to comprehend yet somehow being stored in her mind. Dr. Reyes. Chen called, alarmed. Before she could respond, the facility's ambient lighting shifted to red, and a melodic tone echoed through the chamber. Perimeter breach. Lieutenant Walker's voice crackled through their comms. Concordat forces deployed from orbit, bypassing the observation drones, multiple hostiles approaching from all vectors. Above them, The ice trembled as weapons fire began. Chen grabbed Alina's arm, but she couldn't move, locked in communion with the codex. "We can't leave her," he told the security team. "Defensive positions. Whatever happens, the Concordat cannot be allowed to reach this chamber." As the team scrambled to establish a perimeter, Alina's eyes rolled back, showing only white as the codex continued its download. Humanity's inheritance flowing into her mind while above, the battle for Earth's future began. The amphitheater of Nexus Prime curved upward until it disappeared into mist, its countless tiers filled with representatives from every Concordat species. Dr. Alina Reyes stood with Earth's small delegation on the central platform, feeling the weight of billions of alien eyes upon them. Her mind still burned from the Elderkin download, fragments of ancient knowledge flashing through her consciousness unpredictably. "The trial of ascension will now commence," announced the tribunal arbiter, a being whose original form had long since been replaced by a mechanized housing for its consciousness. The unregistered species designating itself human stands accused of violating the Elderkin containment protocols, illegally accessing restricted technology, and making unauthorized claim to Firstborn status. Alina stepped forward despite the splitting headache behind her eyes. The diplomatic team had selected her as primary advocate after witnessing her sudden ability to comprehend Concordat legal texts. What they didn't know was that she wasn't studying the texts. She was remembering them. The Elderkin knowledge providing context she couldn't possibly have otherwise. "Honored Arbiter," she began, speaking perfect High Vecthar, the ceremonial language reserved for tribunal proceedings. "We reject the premise of these accusations on procedural grounds according to Section 42 of the Charter of Rights, which explicitly exempts inheritor species from prosecution under the containment protocols." A murmur rippled through the amphitheater. The Vecthar prosecutor's neural pathways flashed brilliantly with agitation. The human attempts to manipulate proceedings with knowledge it cannot possibly possess, he protested. "This is further evidence of illegal Elderkin technology integration." The arbiter's metallic voice echoed. "The use of High Vecthar by a non-registered species is unusual but not prohibited. The procedural objection will be noted. Continue, human representative." Alina felt a momentary surge of triumph, but kept her expression neutral. "The Phantom Oath, which we partially decoded, indicates that humanity was designated as inheritors of the Elderkin legacy. We request formal validation of this claim through genetic verification, as provided for in the original Concordat founding documents." The prosecutor's four eyes narrowed simultaneously. "The founding documents are sealed by unanimous consent of the original signatories. The human cannot know their contents." "And yet I do," Alina countered. She gestured, and a holographic display appeared before her, showing ancient text. Article 7 states that any species claiming Elderkin lineage has the right to genetic verification conducted by neutral parties. We invoke this right. The amphitheater erupted in chaos. Several elder species representatives conferred urgently with their aides, while younger Concordat members leaned forward with evident curiosity. The arbiter raised a mechanical appendage, restoring silence. "The tribunal will recess for deliberation on this unprecedented development." During the recess, Alina found herself approached by a Navari diplomat, one of the younger Concordat species. The Navari's crystalline exoskeleton refracted light as she moved. "Your knowledge of founding documents has created quite the commotion," the alien said in a musical voice. "The elder species are particularly disturbed." "They would be," Alina replied cautiously. "They've hidden much from the Concordat's newer members." The Navari's colors shifted subtly. "Perhaps we might discuss matters of mutual interest. The Navari and several other recent additions to the Concordat have long questioned the absolute authority of the founding species." Alina nodded, recognizing the diplomatic opening. The humans would welcome such a discussion. Before they could continue, Alina noticed 3 Vecthar security officers approaching with purposeful strides. She tensed, recognizing the particular arm configuration that indicated weapons readiness. "Dr. Reyes," the human security chief murmured, We need to move you immediately. Intelligence suggests an attempt may be made to prevent your testimony. We expected this, she whispered back. Then, to the Navari. It seems our conversation must wait. Please consider what humanity might offer as allies rather than vassals. As Elena was escorted away through service corridors, her mind raced with plans and contingencies. The Elderkin knowledge was becoming more accessible by the hour, revealing not just the Concordat's secretive past, but its vulnerabilities as well. Back on Earth, Admiral Chen was fighting a desperate battle against overwhelming odds. Elena knew their only hope was to turn the Concordat against itself, and the trial of ascension had just given her the perfect opportunity to plant those seeds of discord. Admiral Chen stood motionless in the command center buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, his face illuminated by the tactical hologram displaying Earth's desperate situation. The Concordat fleet had maintained their precise geometric formation for 6 hours, methodically eliminating orbital defense platforms while jamming communications between Earth's scattered defense forces. Orbital defense grid down to 17% functionality, reported Commander Santos, her voice steady despite the catastrophic losses. Luna Base reports multiple breaches in their outer dome. Mars colonies have gone dark. Chen nodded, his expression betraying nothing of the grief and rage churning inside him. Status of Operation Hydra. Decentralized command network at 86% deployment, Santos replied. Civilian infrastructure integration complete in major population centers. The quantum communication nodes are operational and undetected by Concordat scan so far. And the retrofitted vessels. Lieutenant Park, their youngest staff officer, stepped forward. First wave ready for deployment, Admiral. 37 vessels, primarily modified mining ships and orbital construction platforms. Their hulls have been reinforced with the metamaterial recovered from the Antarctic facility. It's not enough, muttered General Rivera, representing Earth's combined ground forces. Their technological advantage is too great. Conventional military wisdom says we should sue for peace while we still have something to bargain with. Chen turned to face the gathered officers, his gaze sharp. Conventional military wisdom assumes conventional opponents, General. The Concordat has fought the same way for thousands of years because no one has challenged their doctrine. Their tactical algorithms expect us to either surrender or launch a direct counteroffensive. He gestured to the hologram. We'll do neither. He manipulated the display, zooming in on the Concordat formation. Their ships maintain precise distances from each other to optimize their defensive screens. That precision is their weakness. Commander Santos, initiate Phase 1. In high orbit, the first wave of Earth's modified vessels emerged from hiding behind debris fields and damaged satellites. They made no attempt at stealth, broadcasting on all frequencies as they approached the Concordat formation in what appeared to be a suicidal charge. Aboard the human vessel Defiance Captain Oliveira watched the distance counter tick down. All ships, execute scatter pattern on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark. The human fleet suddenly broke formation, each vessel veering in seemingly random directions. The Concordat fleet responded predictably, their targeting systems tracking the largest human vessels as primary threats. They're taking the bait, Oliveira muttered. Secondary vessels, deploy countermeasures. From the smaller ships, thousands of objects no larger than satellites dispersed into space. The Concordat fleet's targeting systems registered them as debris or primitive weapons, assigning them low priority. Until they activated. Each device generated a quantum field that mimicked the energy signature of a human vessel many times its size. The Concordat targeting systems, suddenly registering thousands of phantom targets, attempted to recalibrate. In that moment of confusion, the actual human vessels struck at the weak junction points in the Concordat formation, focusing fire on the connecting nodes between their defensive screens. First breach confirmed, Oliveira announced, allowing herself a tight smile as a gap appeared in the previously impenetrable formation. All vessels, exploit and penetrate. Deploy boarding packages. Back in the command center, Admiral Chen watched the chaos unfolding in orbit. "They're adapting already," he noted as the Concordat forces began systematically eliminating the Phantom signatures. "But not quickly enough. Initiate Phase 2. Commander Santos opened a secure channel, calling all sleeper cells. Activation code Sierra Echo Delta 9 Alpha. Repeat, Sierra Echo Delta 9 Alpha. Across the globe, civilian hackerspaces and underground tech collectives who had been quietly integrated into Operation Hydra received their activation orders. Within minutes, the Concordat's communication channels began experiencing seemingly random failures, their encryption protocols compromised by attack methods too unpredictable and unorthodox for their defensive AI to counter effectively. "It won't hold them long," Chen acknowledged. "But we don't need long. General Rivera, your forces are cleared to deploy the Antarctic prototypes." Rivera nodded grimly. "God help us if this doesn't work." "God had nothing to do with what the Elderkin left us," Chen replied, watching as new signals began appearing at strategic locations worldwide. "But whatever they were, they believed in humanity enough to give us a fighting chance." The tribunal chamber fell silent as Dr. Elena Rice approached the central podium for her final address. 3 days of procedural maneuvering had brought them to this moment, with the Concordat's leaders increasingly uneasy about the knowledge she continued to display of their most closely guarded secrets. "Members of the tribunal," she began, her voice steady despite the pressure building behind her eyes, "I stand before you not merely as humanity's representative, but as the voice of truth long suppressed." The Vecthar prosecutor's neural pathways flashed with agitation. "The human will restrict itself to addressing the specific accusations." Elena smiled thinly. "I intend to address the root of these accusations, honored prosecutor." She tapped her datapad, bringing up ancient star charts on the chamber's display systems. "These charts, sealed in your archives for 17,000 years, show the original territory of the Elderkin Protectorate." Murmurs spread through the younger species representatives as they viewed the vast swath of the galaxy once controlled by the extinct race. The elder species delegates shifted uncomfortably. The official history taught to newer Concordat members claims the Elderkin were aggressive expansionists who threatened galactic stability. Elena continued, each word sending fresh waves of pain through her skull. "The truth is..." Her words cut off as a searing pain erupted behind her eyes. Elena staggered, clutching the podium as blood began streaming from her nose and eyes. The human delegation rushed forward in alarm, but an invisible force pushed them back. "Medical emergency," shouted Ambassador Chang, the head of Earth's diplomatic team. "Our representative requires immediate attention." The tribunal erupted in confusion as Elena collapsed to her knees, her body convulsing. The Vecthar prosecutor stepped forward. "The human is clearly suffering the consequences of illegal neural integration with restricted technology. This confirms our accusations." Through the haze of agony, Elena heard something else, a voice, ancient and serene, speaking directly into her mind. Asterisk, "The time has come, Firstborn. Accept what you are meant to be." Asterisk. Elena screamed as the Elderkin knowledge, partially downloaded in Antarctica, completed its integration with her neural pathways. Her vision shifted, reality splintering into multiple layers as her brain rewired itself to accommodate information never meant for human comprehension. And then, suddenly, clarity. She rose to her feet, blood still streaming down her face, but her movements now possessed an otherworldly grace. The security forces that had moved to contain her froze in place, unable to approach as an energy field manifested around her body. "You fear what you do not understand," she said, her voice resonating with harmonics that made the chamber's crystal fixtures vibrate. "Just as your ancestors feared the Elderkin." Elena raised her hands, and the chamber's holographic systems responded without her touching the controls. The display expanded, filling the entire space with a three-dimensional representation of the galaxy, with a dark mass visible at its outermost edge. "This is the void tide," she announced, speaking simultaneously in all 27 languages of the Concordat species, the words overlapping in perfect synchronicity. A cosmic phenomenon that approaches the galaxy every 50,000 years, consuming all matter in its path. The display zoomed in on the dark mass, revealing tendrils of energy that seemed to devour the very fabric of space. Several delegates gasped in recognition. The oldest races had seen these images before. The Elderkin were not conquerors, Alina continued, her eyes now swirling with galaxies of information. They were guardians, created to protect all life from the void tide. When your ancestors destroyed them, they doomed this galaxy to extinction. The leader of the Vecthar delegation rose. This is forbidden knowledge. Guards, remove the human immediately. Security forces moved forward but stopped when Alina projected the complete holographic image of the Phantom Oath, a complex, multidimensional document that revealed the conspiracy in irrefutable detail. You didn't just destroy the Elderkin, she said, her gaze focused on the eldest Concordat members. You destroyed the only defense against the void tide. And it is returning. Now, Admiral Chen watched in disbelief as the tactical display refreshed, showing 3 Concordat battle groups suddenly changing their identification signals. The massive alien vessels, previously coordinating the assault on Earth's remaining defenses, now turned their weapons against their former allies. Confirmed, sir, Commander Santos reported, her voice tense with cautious optimism. Concordat faction designations Sierra Ta, Omega Phi, and Zeta Lambda have altered their transponder codes and are engaging the primary assault force. Any communication from them? Chen asked, barely daring to hope. Nothing direct, but they're broadcasting in the clear. Translation is, sir, they're declaring allegiance to the truth revealed at Nexus Prime and calling for an immediate cessation of hostilities against the Firstborn. Chen exhaled slowly. Dr. Rice. She did it. A proximity alert blared through the command center, momentarily drowning out the chatter of tactical officers. Lieutenant Park's eyes widened as he studied his console. Sir, massive energy surge detected in low Earth orbit. It's not Concordat weapons fire. The signature matches nothing in our database. On the holographic display, a shimmering distortion appeared between Earth's surface and the Concordat fleet. For a moment, it seemed like space itself was folding, creating a barrier that separated the opposing forces. The quantum field disruptor, General Rivera whispered. It's working. The Antarctic prototype, a device recovered from the Elderkin facility and hastily replicated in underground facilities around the world, had been humanity's final gamble. Designed to temporarily sever the Concordat's instantaneous communications, the device created a localized disruption in quantum probability states, rendering their advanced targeting and coordination systems useless. Communications disruption confirmed, Santos reported. Concordat command network fragmented. Estimated window, 18 minutes before their systems recalibrate. Chen straightened, his voice clear and commanding. This is our only chance. All forces, execute Operation Lazarus. I repeat, execute Operation Lazarus. Across Earth and throughout the inner solar system, humanity's remaining military assets sprang into coordinated action. The decentralized command network, operated through civilian infrastructure and hidden from Concordat detection, allowed for synchronized strikes that would have been impossible through conventional military channels. From hidden bases beneath the Martian surface, squadrons of fighter craft launched, their hulls coated with metamaterials that scattered sensor readings. From the dark side of the moon, railgun emplacements that had played dead during the initial assault revealed themselves, targeting the weak points in Concordat ship architecture identified through weeks of careful observation. Captain Oliveira, her vessel Defiance *, now one of the few remaining command ships in Earth's fleet, led a desperate charge toward the flagship of the hardliner Concordat forces. All points of vulnerability identified, she informed her crew. Concentrate fire on their propulsion nodes. We don't need to destroy them. just immobilize them until the friendly Concordat forces can engage. Through civilian communication channels deemed too primitive for Concordat forces to monitor, hackers coordinated their attacks on enemy targeting systems. Algorithms designed by teenage programmers in underground bunkers exploited weaknesses in alien code that had remained unchanged for centuries, creating chaotic cascades of false targeting data. On Nexus Prime, Dr. Rice and her growing coalition of allied species seized control of the Tribunal's central broadcasting facility. Her transformed consciousness, now operating on multiple levels simultaneously, coordinated the distribution of the truth about the Void Tide and the Elderkin conspiracy to every Concordat world. For too long, the Elder species have maintained their power through deception, she declared, her voice transmitted across thousands of worlds. They destroyed the Elderkin not because they were a threat, but because they feared losing their dominance. Now, as the Void Tide approaches once more, they have condemned us all to extinction. The Navari representative stood beside her, crystalline exoskeleton shimmering with determination. The younger species of the Concordat reject this path. We stand with humanity, the Firstborn, as we seek a new way forward. In Earth orbit, the tide of battle shifted dramatically. With their communication networks fragmented and 3 factions now fighting alongside the humans, the hardliner Concordat forces found themselves in chaos. Their rigid battle doctrines, unchanged for millennia, had no protocols for this scenario. Admiral Chen allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction as he watched the Concordat flagship, its defensive screens failing, transmit the signal he had been waiting for. "Sir," Santos reported, her voice steady despite her obvious emotion, "the Concordat Primary Task Force is requesting terms of surrender." On standard galactic year after the Battle of Sol, the Antarctic facility had transformed beyond recognition. What once lay hidden beneath ice now stood as the gleaming headquarters of the Void Tide Preparation Initiative, its architecture a seamless blend of human and Elderkin design. Representatives from 15 Concordat species worked alongside human scientists, the former enemies now united against a common threat. Dr. Elena Reyes, her consciousness permanently altered but stabilized through techniques developed jointly by human neurologists and Concordat medical specialists, stood at the observation deck overlooking the main research floor. Her eyes, now with a faint luminescence that betrayed her transformed nature, tracked the movement of researchers below. "The latest simulations are promising," said Admiral Chen, approaching with a datapad. Age and the strain of war had left new lines on his face, but his posture remained unbending. "A hybrid shield technology is showing 93% effectiveness against simulated Void Tide radiation." Elena nodded, her perception simultaneously processing the conversation, monitoring 17 different research projects, and maintaining a tenuous connection to the faint Elderkin consciousness that now resided within her. Better than expected, but still not enough. The actual Void Tide will be significantly more intense than our simulations. The Navari delegation has arrived with the materials from the abandoned Elderkin outpost in the Sagittarius Arm, Chen continued. Their crystalline technology might be the key to boosting the effectiveness. A slight smile touched Elena's lips. The Elderkin would appreciate the irony. Their greatest enemies now delivering their lost technology to their inheritors. Chen's expression remained serious. Not all the Concordat has accepted the new reality. The hardliner faction still control significant territories in the outer systems. They'll come around when the Void Tide reaches their borders, Elena replied. Self-preservation is a powerful motivator. Their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Katri, now Director of Sinotechnology Integration. Dr. Rice, the Pathfinder mission has reported back. You'll want to see this immediately. The command center hummed with activity as the transmission from the Pathfinder vessel played on the main screen. The experimental ship, crewed by human volunteers and equipped with hybrid technology, had ventured deeper into the approaching Void Tide than any previous expedition. confirming previous readings, reported Captain Maya Hernandez, her image occasionally distorting as the transmission fought through the interference. The void tide's effect on our systems is minimal compared to the Concordat vessels. We've penetrated 12 kilometers beyond the previous record without significant degradation. Elena studied the biological data streaming alongside the captain's report. Their cellular integrity is maintaining despite exposure levels that should be lethal. The quantum field generated by human cellular structures is somehow neutralizing the tide's reality-altering effects. The Vecthar science liaison, one of the moderate faction that had broken with the hardliners, moved his 4 eyes independently across different data streams. Impossible by all known science, he commented, neural pathways pulsing with excitement rather than the suspicion that had once characterized his species' interactions with humans. Yet the evidence is undeniable. Not impossible, Elena corrected gently. Just beyond your science. The Elderkin engineered humanity as an evolution of their own biological defenses against the void tide. But they never anticipated we would develop in quite this way. Chen frowned at a particular readout. The human crew's DNA is showing micro-adaptations in response to the exposure. Is that expected? Elena's expression grew distant as she accessed the Elderkin knowledge within her mind. Not expected, no. The Phantom Oath contained a genetic activation sequence designed to unlock dormant capabilities within human DNA when exposed to void tide radiation. But this is beyond what even the Elderkin predicted. Humanity isn't just resistant to the void tide. We're adapting to it. What does that mean for the defense initiative? Asked the Navari representative, her crystalline form refracting light, as she shifted position. Elena looked up, her luminescent eyes reflecting the starfield visible through the facility's transparent ceiling. It means the Phantom Oath's final prophecy is manifesting. The children are surpassing their parents. Humanity will not just survive the void tide. We will master it.